Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Ask Me Anything session about practicing, graduating, and earning certifications. My name is Meredith Vaughn, and I serve as chair-elect to the National Court Reporters Foundation, and I'll be your moderator this evening for this session. Tonight, we have with us an esteemed panel of presenters who are going to answer your questions. I'm going to let them introduce themselves individually. But before we introduce our presenters tonight, I do want to thank the members of the Ask Me Anything Task Force Committee that are here with us tonight. We have NCRA Vice President Cindy Isaacson. Hi, Cindy. We have Rich Jermosin, a member of our task force, as well as one of our panelists tonight. We have Sandy Narup on with us tonight, and task force member and NCRF trustee, and Early Langley. Thank you guys so much for the hard work you put in on the Ask Me Anything task force. Really appreciate all your help in pulling these things together. So we have a lot to get to tonight. We have a lot of questions that we want to get answers for you, input. And at the end of the introduction of the panelists, what we're going to do is we're going to take a picture for social media. So you got about a 7-minute heads up after the introductions. If you can put your cameras on, anybody wants to brush their hair, get some lipstick on. Here's your little cue that is picture for social media is coming up, and it will be after the bios. So just that little heads up that it's coming. Okay. We're going to get right into this. This evening, presenting and answering questions for you is Rich Jermosin. And Rich, if you could share your bio of who you are, what you do, and what your certified in, we'd appreciate it.
Hello, good evening. My name is Rich Jermosin. I'm a certified stenographic reporter since 1992. I'm a New Jersey CSR, a California CSR. I am the admin of the 100-day practice group on Facebook, and I am an NCRF trustee.
Thank you so much. Karen Tyler, you're up. If you could share your bio, please.
Hi, I'm Karen Tyler. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana. I have been a stenographic reporter since 1979. I am certified in Louisiana and Texas. I am a speed contest and real-time contest junkie, which is how I met Rich. And I serve on several committees with NCRA, but I am also a trustee of NCRF. And we're also glad you're here this evening.
Thank you so much. Karen, we just did you. Shalene Iverson.
Hi, I'm Shalene Iverson. I'm a freelance / firm owner reporter here in Portland, Oregon. I've been reporting since 2002. I'm certified in Oregon. I'm certified in Washington. Got my RPR finally during COVID. Yeah, and when I serve on some NCRA committees, and I'm actually a part of Rich's practice group, which I love.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. And I would like to welcome as a new panelist this evening, Yvette Heinze.
Hello, good evening. Again, my name is Yvette Heinze. I am entering my 28th year as a stenographer. I am certified in California, RPR, and I'm almost have that RMR. It's just right out of reach. I am currently working as a federal reporter. I am part of Rich's 100-day practice group. I am on day 1,387, and I'm currently vice chair of NCRA. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Yvette. I want to rephrase that. Your RMR is just within reach, not just not in reach. Definitely within reach. Thank you so much. And Donna Erla, if you could give your bio and share what you do.
Hi, I'm Donna Erlab. I'm in Chicago, Illinois. I've been reporting since 1969. So this year is my 55th year as a court reporter.
Wow.
And yes, I am still working every day. Right this second, I'm in Savannah with my family on vacation and having a great time. I am Illinois CSR only. I'm not certified anywhere else. I'm happy to work in Chicago. And I'm an RMR and a CRR and a speed contest junkie also, and sometime winner. So, and just doing everyday reporting and still enjoying it very much. Thank you.
I love it. Absolutely fantastic. So next we'll call on Mark Kislingberry.
Hello, I'm Mark Kislingberry. I've been reporting since 1983 in Houston, Texas, mostly as a freelancer. Then I spent 22 years doing a 3-hour radio program as well. I started the Mark Kislingberry Academy of Court Reporting in 2011, and we have several dozen graduates, 50 to 60, depending on how you count. Graduates since then, and they're doing very well. I manage and run the Magnum Steno Club, which is an excellent place to practice if you want to get better. And I have my RDR and CSR and CRR, and that's it.
And also a Guinness World Record.
Yes, there is one of those. Yes, thank you.
We're not going to leave that one out. Ron Cook has returned to be a panelist for us this evening. Ron.
Well, that's a tough one to follow. I'm Ron Cook. I started reporting in 1977. Donna's got me beat by a few. I started out in LA and moved up to Washington and did most of my work up there. And then now I've since moved back down to Southern California. I'm actually a freelancer, but I'm freelancing in court. They laid off all the officials, and so they hire freelance deposition reporters to do the court work. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm a California certified, Washington certified, Nevada certified. I'm an RDR, CRR, and I'm a speed and real-time contest junkie as well.
A very successful one. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the panelists. You guys, your backgrounds, your credentials are absolutely amazing, and that you're choosing to volunteer your time this evening to answer these questions. We're very, very appreciative of. Thank you so much for being here and helping us do this. So we're going to spend time until 9 p.m. Eastern. I know you guys aren't all in the Eastern time zone, but if we don't get to a question that you wanted an answer to, or we started a topic that you wanted to have a more in-depth conversation about, I'm going to have the panelists put a business email or phone number in the chat box that they would be willing to be contacted at. So if you want to chat down someone's contact information to reach out after tonight's session, you can take that information from the chat box and feel free to do that. And when somebody else is answering a question, I'll put mine down as well. Happy to help with anything that I can answer. Okay, so moving on to our photograph for social media. If anyone would like to have their beautiful face showing, now would be a time to turn your camera on. And Rich is going to take our photo, and I'll stop talking so he can cue us to smile.
All right, take a couple. So, camera's on, Captain. There she goes. 1, 2. All right, I got 3.
Yay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Take it early in the evening while we're still fresh. Okay, here we go. I'm a professional stenographer. Why do I need to practice? And I'm completely going to start with Rich Jermosin to answer this question, because when we were planning tonight's Ask Me Anything session, he had really some great input in answer to this question.
Well, why do we practice? I always go to the sports analogy. If you're a sports fan and you watch your football team or your baseball team, and they're going to go to the playoffs or whatever, they're just going to play a game. They go to practice. So I look at it as we practice. Some people say, oh, well, I practice while we're on the record, but that's not really practice to me. To me, that's the show. That's the game. So when I get up in the morning and I'm doing my 30 minutes, I'm getting ready for the show. So that's the way I look at it. We're professionals. We need to practice to get better. If we don't, some of us are pretty good without practice, but then when we start practicing, we notice how much better we even are after we get into practicing. So That's why I think we should practice.
Outstanding. I believe when we did the bios, Donna, you had the most experience, so I would turn to you for this question next. You know, after all these years in the profession, why do you still practice?
Well, first I want to say that I omitted the fact that I also am a member of the 100-day practice group, and I recently achieved, I don't know, 1,200 and something days. And I had a moment where I blanked out and fell off. So I'm back to my month one. Why do I practice? It's funny. I have to give kudos actually to Mark Kislingberry, because we used to hang out together when we were coming in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th at the National Speed Contest. And unlike Mark, it took me a while to get on the practice train. And I too used to say, well, why should I practice? I practice every day on the job. And I couldn't have been more wrong. And then I started moving up in the contest, and I swear I came in third so many times. I felt like I should be bronzed and get it over with. And I was kind of frustrated, but at the same time, Mark would say, Donna, when did you begin to practice? And I'd say, well, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago. How stupid was that? Because I've realized that, like, if you look at the Olympics, and it's kind of what Mark was saying to me. You look at the people in the Olympics, that's a long 5 minutes. And you have any idea how many times they practice that program? And you realize the length, 5 minutes is a long time. And so anyway, I'm back to the Mark. Mark gave me so much incentive to practice, and I didn't take his advice. And then when I finally did, I realized what an opportunity I was missing, because once I started practicing every single day, and went to the various material, I finally achieved my goal and, came in first, finally, at the age of like 73. And which is some kind of, you know what I mean? It's like, wow. But yeah, Mark's nodding his head, and it's true. I needed that kick in the butt. And so I would never discourage anyone from practicing, because the value is immense. Yeah.
I'm gonna rephrase one part of your answer. It's like,
Okay.
wow, oh my God, just so exciting. I love it, all of it. Mark, since she brought you up and things that shared experience with you, I'll go to you next for input.
On why we should practice.
Yes.
One example is performers of all kinds practice. Musicians who perform, people who athletes, as Rich said, they all perform. And a famous pianist named Vladimir Horowitz, who was even playing concerts into his 80s, I believe, he says, if I miss one day of practice, I notice. If I miss 2 days of practice, my wife notices. And if I miss 3 days of practice, the world notices. And so I'm inspired by that. And so I think it feels so good to practice every day, and you can see it in your daily work when you do.
I love it. Several times in our answers, even so far this evening, we have heard about the 100-day practice group. So since Rich, that's something that you started, I'm going to have you repeat, and if you could share with anyone in our audience that may not be aware of what that is.
So it's a Facebook group. You come on, you post, oh, I did 15 minutes of X, Y, and Z today. You post day 100. You try to get to day 100 without missing a day. Usually, for the most part, a regular challenge is 15 minutes for 100 days. Once or twice a year, we do like memorial challenges, like 100 days before the speed contest. We'll do 30 minutes for members that have passed away. We have 3 members that passed away over the last several years. So yeah, you practice on your own. You come on the page and you put, I did X, Y, and Z, day 100, today's date, and you try to get to day 100. So that's what I try to get to day 100. Then I take maybe 3 to 7 days off. and then I jump in for another 100, and I try to do that all year long. So
Thank you so much for sharing what that is. I've been a reporter myself for 34 years, and I am on my first 100 days for the practice group, day 26. So just, I don't know what I was doing for the past 34 years, but I've spent enough time with Rich at this point that I was having massive fear of missing out, that everybody was getting to be a better stenographer than I was, so that I better jump on this train and improve my skills. I'm turning next to Karen Tyler. This time that we spend practicing, what do you actually practice?
I practice a lot of material that is within our group. Old speed contests, real-time contests. I occasionally will write, I love HGTV, so I will write shows on HGTV. Donna does the news with David Muir, is that, which I think that sounds so fascinating. That comes on at 5 o'clock my time, and I'm not home a lot. But it just depends on what I do. A lot of Mark's Magnum Steno Club. I do a lot of that because the briefs that you get from there are priceless, and then trying to implement them in the material just helps me write shorter, which has been since 2013. I have been on that path of trying to write shorter, which, helps you be better as a reporter. So I think you just find material that interests you so that you want to practice, number one, because if you're writing to something that you just loathe, that's not going to be productive for anybody. So you write something that you're interested in and that you can add to your dictionary to grow your dictionary.
And then a follow-up question to the Magnum Steno Club, is that a free group?
So the briefs, if you go to magnumsteno.com, I believe it is Mark, he has the briefs posted every day for free. But then if you want to listen, he has a library that goes back to 2008-ish. The archived speed videos of all types, and it's $29.95 a month, which is, for the value you get out of that site, that is just, that is money well spent, because he has longer videos if you're trying to do for endurance, and then he has short videos, and just a plethora of information. So I can highly recommend that site too. And I think Allie Hall has some practice material out there now. There's tons of practice material out there for you to practice too. And you just have to find what interests you to encourage you to keep practicing.
Wonderful. So next we're going to deal with the questions of how much do you practice and how long do you practice? And I am going to turn to Yvette Heinze.
All right. Well, I actually kind of wanted to jump into what do I practice, because the other people on this panelist are my idols. They are amazing. And I'll just put out there that I am not a strong writer. And I want to put that out there because I want everybody to know it's okay. We are so hard on ourselves. We don't need to all be Mark. That's what everybody else said. We won't be, but it's okay. You are practicing and competing with yourself. And so the stuff that I practice is the stuff I personally need. I want to I've adopted a lot of Mark's right-hand phrase enders and left-hand phrase enders. So I personally pick a subject and start doing practices on the stuff I really want to focus on. And I've been making my own tapes doing that. Just little sentences, getting on ChatGPT and making up own stories, or I have Q&A that I've done at courts, and I'll put the words in there he wants, and I'll start working on those right-hand phrase enders and left-hand phrase enders and just really focus on those. So I don't just do general stuff. Each week or every month, I have specific stuff I focus on. And then when I hit it, it's just like, when you're on the record and you hit those things you've been practicing, it is just such an amazing feeling. And then it becomes addictive. And then it's almost a game. So the more you practice, the more addicted it gets and the better writer you become. So I just forgot what the question how much do I practice? At least depends on how long I'm working. I try to get the minimum 15 minutes a day, even if it's finger drills. But when I have time, I really like to get a good half hour in the morning, half hour in the evening, just to really get some good practice in. It just depends what you have time for, but bare minimum 15 minutes was great, even if it's finger drills.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. I did share on the 100-day practice Facebook page the other day. I was really concentrating on some outlines, and they said the words in court, and I was excited. It came up, I wrote it correctly, and I literally gasped out loud, like, oh, look, I got it. Like, that was fantastic. But we were on the record and we were in court, and I went, oh my God, I talked out loud on the record because I was so excited that stuff from practice came up and I nailed it. So, except for courtroom decorum, that went very well. Shalene, do you have stuff to share on how much you practice and how long you practice?
It's pretty similar. Some days I'm just really busy and you're lucky to get your 15 minutes in. I had a streak going, I was just under 3 years when I woke up one morning and realized I hadn't practiced. And so I've had a couple of different little 100-day sprints in between, and I got to like 76, so I'm getting there. But I think my ideal practice really to really cement things that I'm working on is really 30 minutes. So I like to finger drill for the first 10 minutes just to get my fingers going. And then I like to work on higher speed. And then, because right now, personally, I'm working on my CRR. And so I'll be practicing at 240 for like 10, 15 minutes, and then I'll take it down to 220 for 10, 15 minutes. And then I'll do a 5-minute take of a 200 I've never heard and just see how that's translating. And so that I like to usually go about a half an hour, but sometimes that 15 minutes is really all you can fit into a day.
Got it. Thank you. Ron Cook, where do you find the drive to practice every day?
I've always been competitive. I majored in PE, and I just want to be the best reporter I can be. Not only because I compete in the speed and the real-time contest, but frankly, the better you are, the faster you are, the easier your job is. And so I tell students and reporters alike that, if you're writing 225, that's great. But if you could practice and build that speed to 240, your life from that day forward will be that much easier. And if you can get to 250, same thing. And you don't need to be a merit writer necessarily, but shoot, if you're going to be at 250, why not go to 260 and get your merit? And again, every ounce of speed that you have is going to make your life that much easier going forward. So that's one of the reasons I practice as well.
I love that answer. Thank you very much. So let's translate or transition just a little bit to our audience members that maybe have not graduated as court reporters yet. Obviously, we don't have any student reporters on our panel, but we were all students at one time and found a way to graduate. So I think a lot of people worry, will I ever graduate? Donna, do you have any tips for students that are afraid they won't actually cross the finish line? You put it back on mute. You came off for a second, but now you're back on. There you go.
Thank you. Tips. I remember from so long ago, just practicing sitting on the porch and reciting and writing on my manual machine the outlines, the briefs that I learned in school. And to this day, they've stuck with me, and it surprises. For a while I was sharing like a brief a day with Chicago reporters on a Facebook page. And the one that stands out that I've known since 1968 was especially EP. And I recall being totally surprised that so many people were like, oh my gosh, I never knew that brief. you know, and so I guess I'm saying cement, it's kind of like your multiplication tables in fourth grade. Learn them well, and they will serve you well, no matter how many years later. And also embrace what you can learn. If a word is bothering you, like for me, there was a word, now I'm not remembering what it is, but if it comes up all the time and you're struggling to find a way to write it, experiment with what makes sense for you, and you know, check that box and get rid of that being a problem. So I guess my thing is to embrace the briefs and word group around what is a problem. You know, if you can't find a brief for it, if you have like, I just came across vein, vein, and vein. You know, I was doing how it's made. That's one of the things I was practicing too. I'm on vacation, by the way, and I've got my machine with me and I'm writing this session for my practice. But anyway, so they were talking about finials on a roof, and I realized I don't have that vein in my dictionary because I do a lot of medical. So I have the other vein, and then there's the, help me out here. What's the other? There's vein that for vanity vein. And so I like the I to the asterisk to stand for the dot over the I for whatever it's worth. So anyway, my point is embrace your briefs, and then if you have a problem with a word, find a way to write it shorter and then go on, move on.
There you
It's all
go.
about the briefs.
Excellent. Shalene has her hand raised to answer, on will I ever graduate?
So I was what I would call a lifer. I thought I was never going to get out of school. So I'm talking to those people, not the ones who whizzed through school in 18 months. I definitely was not that person. This is definitely a skill I've had to hone as opposed to something that came naturally to me. Even though I did play an instrument, still didn't come naturally to me. And I had to go to school part-time at night, and I wasn't able to put into it everything I needed to put into it. And so what I would just say is if this is something you really, really want, you just make it happen. I know that a lot of things happened to me while I was in school that I just kind of like kept setting me back, setting me back, setting me back. And you just have to want it, and you just have to persevere and work through those challenges. I was in 200s, and I thought, you know, here I am, I'm finally getting to get out of school. And then I was diagnosed with cancer. So then I had to go through that to get out of school. And it's like, so there's things that happen, life happens. Like I kept complaining, like, I'm going to be 35 before I get out of school. It's going to be, this is horrible. And my friend looked at me, she goes, you're going to be 35 anyway. So what's the big deal? She, like, you're going to be 35 and have something under your belt or not. It is a choice. So I just want to say, don't worry about those people who necessarily it's easy for them. It's not easy for everybody, but if this is really what you want to do, you just have to persevere. Determination takes a lot, you know, is a big bulk of what we do. Just having the determination to do it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to have a third answer on this question from Mark. As a school owner, as a teacher, I would think you get asked, you know, will I graduate quite frequently?
Yes, and I do see all kinds of students, the whizzes that get out there in just a little over a year, and then I see ones that take 5 or 6 years sometimes or more. And life happens is exactly the thing that we hear. And when I talk to the graduates who finally made it after whatever number of years it is, they all have in common, I think, that they, for lack of a better word, finally got serious. That they all admit that you know, life happened and I wasn't as serious as I wanted to be, and that type of thing. And so at some point when they decide I really want this and I'm not going to give up, that's when they end up moving forward and graduating. And I also notice sometimes people don't ask for help too. When you're stuck for a pretty long period of time, whatever that is, whether it's 3 months or a year, you should be talking to someone because it means you need to do something differently, remember that old phrase? I don't know if I can pull it out of my head. Insanity is doing this something the same way, but expecting a different result. And so you're just always practicing the same way and you're not getting anywhere. So that's what I would recommend, that you try to move yourself to be as most determined as you possibly can, and then seek advice on how to change your practice so that you can gain speed.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to turn to what I would call the question of the evening. We had it on our list to ask about or to get answers about, what do you do about nerves? And many of our audience members submitted questions saying, what do I do about test anxiety? How do I deal with my nerves? So I think I'm going to call on all of the panelists to answer, because we can use all the tips that we can get in dealing with test anxiety and nerves. So Rich Jermosin, what do you do to when you're nervous for a speed contest?
A few years ago, I started doing guided meditation with an app called Headspace. So I usually supposed to get back into it. I have been doing it, but I usually try to do it 100 days before the contest. And I just try to make the motivation that I'm listening for the next word. That's what you make your motivation. What's the next word? And then all of a sudden you start thinking, oh, I'm getting it. Then you're not listening for the next word if you're thinking I'm getting it. So you try to stop that talk and you say, okay, get back into the dictation. What's the next word? What's the next phrase? So you just keep doing that. You do that during practice, and hopefully when the contest comes or when your certification test comes, you'll be able to piece together 5 minutes just waiting for the next word, looking for the next word, as opposed to thinking I'm getting it. Oh boy, I'm getting it. As soon as you start thinking I'm getting it, you jump back into saying, wait a minute, that's not, what are we doing? We're doing the dictation. So listen for the next phrase, the next word, and keep going until 5 minutes is up, and hopefully you get a 96 or 97. So
Like it.
Mm-hmm.
Karen Tyler, how do you deal with nerves and test anxiety?
For me, just taking a few deep breaths right before the test starts, I always do that. Melanie Humphrey Sontag always has Reese's peanut butter cups. There's something about the chocolate and the peanut butter that supposedly opens your brain. Some people chew on a peppermint. But, and I think everybody on here that competes, where's that talcum powder, because all of our hands sweat, and, we're all just trying to get in a test groove. And I know Mark and I last year were comparing notes after the contest because we were so close, and, how did we hang on? And Patricia Nielsen just kind of floated through one of the takes, and so I think if you look at it as not something to be afraid of, but something to accomplish, is how I've always looked at these contests or a test in general, because your friends and colleagues, I mean, we are in a very solitary profession, but when you're with your friends taking a test, and that's test taking to me, it kind of makes me sad that everybody's having to do it online, because being in a room with other people, that there's a certain energy that you don't get to have that helps you do better. And if you get a word that you are freezing on, we've had Quonset hut, and we've had refrigerators and fridge, and you're going, well, how do I write that? And if you can just think of a stroke that that's going to stand for that, instead of trying to hesitate on multisyllabic words, or how do you even spell Quonset hut at 200? You've got to think about writing, and all the other stuff you can figure out later. I had a friend, she was at my house on Sunday, and they'd had a jury charge, and she has really worked hard. She does Mark's Magnum Steno Club, and she goes, I just don't know what this word is. And I went, it's gleeful. You've written it perfectly. And a year ago, her fingers would have been everywhere. And she goes, He said gleeful. I said, well, that's what you wrote. You know, you've got to trust your notes. And that's the other thing. Trust your notes and they will be your friend. But, you know, just know, I don't know. I attribute being a writer to a musician. We do a very unique field and you just need to enjoy the whole moment. And I know testing can be stressful, but if you just, as my sweet husband would say, grab it and growl, you're going to be just fine. Just grab it and growl.
I am talking on mute because the dog was barking. Sorry. Yvette, how do you deal with nerves and test anxiety?
I'm still learning to deal with anxiety, but I will say that putting the work in makes you more confident. I never pass a test on a whim. Every time I pass a test and I nailed it, I put in the time. I was confident. I felt confident. So I would say be kind to yourselves. We put so much pressure on ourselves. You need to be kind to yourself. You need to give yourself smaller goals. There's a great meme where it has this giant ladder and the each step of the ladder is really far between. So give yourself little goals. Think about trying to get that 30 seconds, nailing the 30 seconds, 1 minute. If you're a person like me that always drops the that, focus on the that, and every time you pass a test or get close to a test, but you got all the that's, give yourself credit. Love yourself and give yourself credit for all the amazing things you are doing. And then eventually when you're there, you will get that test.
Thank you so much. Ron Cook, how do you handle nerves and test anxiety?
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I struggled with public speaking from day one. And I'm just a nervous type of person. I'm still struggling with it. And, you know, I talk to the students that I mentor on Sundays, and we talk about the fact that the mental aspect of this is just so hugely important. And, you know, you've heard that saying, if you think you can, you can't. And if you don't think you can, you can't, or something along those lines. And it's so true. And I know that when I go into contests feeling very, you know, confident and like a world beater, I'm much more successful. And sometimes I'll go into those competitions and I'll be more nervous than usual, and I don't do so well. So I still struggle with it to this day. I keep working on it, but it's just mental. We need to know that, you know, we've got to work on our mental toughness.
I call that the power of the positive attitude. I'm going to call on Task Force Co-Chair Cindy Isaacson first. She had a great nugget to share on test nerves and anxiety.
Everything that we do every day is a test. Whether you're practicing, whether you're in court, whether you're in a depot, it's all a test. And I like to change it from test anxiety, because when you sit down in front of that machine and you have already told yourself, I have test anxiety, and you reinforce that to yourself every single day, then you're reinforcing anxiety. So change that little mindset and say, I have test excitement. And when you change that and you say excitement, I mean, your face changes. You can't say the word excitement without your face changing. When you say anxiety, I mean, look at your face when you say, I have anxiety. Your face changes, your heart changes, your body changes. So start saying, I have test excitement, because that's going to make a difference in how you view testing. Whether it's testing in court every day when I'm sitting and doing a jury trial or in a deposition. So change that mindset of what this test is. Is it excitement or is it anxiety? And so I think it depends on you. If you're going to bring anxiety onto yourself, or if you're going to bring excitement onto yourself. So maybe try that as opposed to saying, I have anxiety, because when you bring that on and you keep saying that you do, then you're making yourself have more and more of it. So that's my little nugget for the day. And I know that I'm not a speaker, but so I will mute myself and
Thank you for sharing. I would call that empowering your own self. And it's wonderful. I love that. Shalene, do you have a short answer for test anxiety?
Yeah, I just, that visualization thing, like literally visualize the words coming out at you sounding slow. So before I go, I'm getting ready to test, I've done my practice and I'm ready to test. I actually take a few minutes where I just sit there with my eyes closed and I visualize them speaking and it's sounding so very slow, like, oh, then I really have it. And trying to build up that confidence before you even start. And then remind yourself to breathe because you stop breathing when you're testing. So also remind yourself to breathe because once you stop breathing, that's when your hands start getting shaky and everything. It's not because you're nervous, it's because you're not breathing. You need the oxygen.
I love it. And lastly, Donna, do you have an answer for this one?
Yes, be prepared. And that's where practice comes in. The more you practice, and not only practice writing, but look at your notes. Go through your notes, whether it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes, even if you can't do it that night, go through them on another day and see where your flaws, your problems are. And if you can read the junk, for lack of a better word, and oh, there was something else I wanted to say. But build your dictionary and what I call flex your dictionary. Practice on stuff that you're not accustomed to. I recently was doing the how it's made, and it sounds slow until you start writing all these words that you're not accustomed to writing. And so that allows you to encounter new words on a regular basis, that'll give you that ability to, climb that mountain of encountering a word you're not accustomed to. But the main thing is to be prepared. Don't think you're just going to walk in there and a miracle's going to happen, because it won't. Being prepared allows you to control your nerves, hopefully.
So perhaps someone might say, practicing and being prepared would give you confidence.
There you go.
We could
Yes.
put that all together. Excellent. I'm going to transition to some of the questions that were submitted by audience members. Avery Pritchard asked a few questions about the RPR, preparing for the RPR, speed theory, briefs, accuracy, advice for passing the RPR skills test. Do any of our panelists feel confident in weighing in on that? We already discussed so far about testing alone, in our homes. That's usually how school works. But you don't have to always test for the RPR alone. There's going to be in-person testing available again at the Louisville Convention. So just make sure that you know that that's an option if you prefer to take your RPR in a room with other people. Okay. So I will call on, you guys aren't raising your hands for me, so that's not helping. Shalene, do you have an answer for this question? Good areas to study for the RPR.
Again, you write, you practice at about 40 words per minute faster than you want to write at, and do that consistently. But also you need to make sure you bring it down to make sure you work on the accuracy too. So I would almost say it's like an 80-20 mix. Work on that just being able to move your fingers faster. So work at the higher speeds for 80% of your time, and then 20% of your time, bring it down to make sure you're nailing that accuracy. That's what I would say for the RPR.
Excellent. That's very helpful. Do we have a panelist that can answer where can I find free dictations for the RPR? Rich, that might be a good question for you leading the practice group.
Free dictations for the RPR. We have a big, we have a shared drive on the practice page where it's a bunch of old NSRA and NCRA tapes. I'm not sure where you would get free practice for the RPR, but there is something called eNounce. If you go to eNounce.com, this is a little program that you pay $30, you put it on your computer, and you can manipulate any speed. You can, if you put it up one click, it goes up 10%. So if you're doing 200 words per minute and you want it to be 210, you would add 1 click. If you wanted to go 10% slower, you would subtract a click. So that might be something worth getting. So you can, let's say you have a bunch of, 300 word per minute and it's too fast. You can use Enounce to slow it down. So that's an idea.
Thank you very much. Kathy Evans submitted the question, what is the best prep material for the RPR written knowledge test? There is a book available to buy in the NCRA store. There is also the very popular, the purple books to prepare for that test. So that would be an answer for that question that was submitted. But I really like this question from Nicole Harrison. How can I put the past bad experiences behind me? Ron Cook.
Again, I'll say that this is mental. So, the mentally tougher you are, the easier it will be to do that. And, what's done is done. And as long as you go into it mentally strong and mentally prepared, you don't be thinking about what has transpired in the past, and just go out and know that you're ready and that you own this, and go conquer this test.
I love that. I'm going to touch on a couple of questions from Yvonne Rodriguez. For Mark Kissenberry, how does one overcome a speed plateau? And are there any specific finger dexterity exercises I can do?
That's a good question, and there's really a lot in speed building. So I want to give you the things that will help you the most, probably. The thing I'm noticing with my students when they have speed troubles is they're dropping. And those of us who learn to conquer speed contests and things like that, my impression is that we learn how to not drop first, and then we work on accuracy. We all want to work on accuracy all the time, but a bunch of reporters and students continue to allow themselves to keep dropping. And you can actually teach yourself to stop dropping in one day. Just force yourself not to drop and write whatever comes out, then work on your accuracy. So that's what I'd say first. As far as finger drills and things like that, I don't know a whole lot about finger drills. I don't do them a lot myself. Some people get benefit from them, but let me throw this in. I read this amazing book maybe about 7 years ago called The Talent Code. And it's basically summed up by repetition. All the people who get Olympic gold medals and who do the world record type things, athletes mostly, they do the same thing over and over until their muscle memory can't forget. That you can't forget it. And there's a phrase that sums this up. Amateurs practice till they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. And so since I read that book and realized that the muscle memory is much more important, before that, I used to practice new material all the time because I thought that's important. But now I'm really into practicing the same take somewhere 4, 7, 10 times to get that muscle memory on this type of material. And that has really improved my real-time accuracy. So if you combine don't drop, I'm going to become a non-dropper, then work on your accuracy with a lot of repetition, I think you'll go very far.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Wanda Rosado, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, submitted some questions about are exams expensive? And I wanted to make sure that you knew that ncra.org, and then you click on certification, and the certification test center has frequently asked questions to review, has tips and tricks, and it has a chart of the cost of the legs of the RSR, the RPR, the CRR, all of the NCRA certifications. Basically, one leg of a test for a student member would cost $86, and a reporter member, it would cost them $105. But all of the information when you're looking to pass certifications is right online. when somebody else is answering a question, I'll throw what I just said in the chat box, so you have that available. Does anyone know, Wanda also asked, are there classes one can attend to prepare for NCRA certification? So I would definitely say read all of the directions and all of the information on the NCRA website, because I was a member of the board for a period of time, and what we found was a lot of the people that struggled to pass online certifications hadn't done their free practice prep sessions, hadn't read all the directions, didn't have all the information that they needed to have before they started. So separate from a separate training class, because your training classes are really going to come from your schools, is just being the most prepared that you can be for the test by having all the information and reading everything that's available to you. So I guess I kind of answered that my own self. Do we have another panelist that wanted to weigh in on that? Okay, we're down to 8 minutes, so I'm gonna push on. Kate Sandridge asked, practicing for speed versus accuracy, how to switch. So Mark answered that in a way just now, so I will move on. Does somebody else have an answer? Okay. Selena Davis, how do you get the most out of practice sessions? Karen Tyler, do you have an answer for that?
I like to, when I practice a take of whatever I'm writing, I like to go back through and I'm always so impressed when friends and colleagues post they've written 200 pages and they have 0 untranslates. That's never going to be me, because every job that I ever write, there's some brief that I come up with and I go, oh, I really like that. And of course that comes up as an untranslate, but I like to go back through my job or my practice at the end and just kind of scan through and see, was it an untranslate? Did I, were my fingers not in the right place? Could that be another word? Or do I just need to write that, define that as a word, because I've written it that way several times throughout this one job. So obviously I think it was that word. And I think a lot of times when we practice, we're just, you're practicing to build your speed, but you also need to try to build your dictionary, because I know for me, when I see things translate cleanly, or even if it should be one word, but it's 2 words and they're 2 different words, at least it's cleaner and I'm more confident with my writing, the cleaner that my writing is on the computer. So I think just going back through and define words that, are mistranslates or untranslates in your file will make you more confident as a writer. And, we'll just go toward more to help you achieve these results of passing these tests and getting out in the field and working, because trust me, we all want you out in the field working yesterday. So just stay confident. You're going to be successful at this. I promise you are going to be successful. And the only thing I can tell you is, even if you're working for 40 plus years, you're going to have a day that beats you to the ground, and that's okay, because you're going to get back up and the next job's going to be great. And you're going to go, oh, I made it. It's not terrible today. So just, we're in a roller coaster profession. That's why we love it. I think we're all just kind of adrenaline junkies at heart. And so just keep pushing, and we can't wait to have you out here working with us.
Thank you very much. That's so wonderful. So a reminder to the audience, if I didn't touch on your question specifically, don't forget to grab someone's contact information and to reach out after the session as well. That's available. So we talked a lot about RPR certification, and I wanted to ask our panelists, why do we need a certification? Donna Erlob, do you have an answer for why do I need that certification?
It goes back to confidence. If I was able to write X number of words per minute for 5 minutes, I can kind of comfort myself. If I've had a hard time, I know that they got the best job that they could have gotten because I have proven to myself that I can write that fast. I find frequently that a job that I felt was really hard, and then I transcribe it, and wow, this is pretty good. And that's because I I was struggling at the time I was writing it, and I was writing it better than I thought, and I was experiencing the trauma during the time I was writing, and then that made the editing that much better because I'm a faster writer. So whatever you're trying to achieve, keep working on it because it can do you nothing but good. And I wanted to touch on one other thing. I used this example one time about a speed versus real time question, and I use the example of gather and gear. I write gather GAER and gear is GAOER. If I don't have the control to be able to differentiate on my keys between those two words, all the speed in the world isn't going to help me because I'm still going to have to differentiate and choose between those two words. So you need to try to be able to write it as cleanly as possible, as fast as possible. I don't know. I hope that makes sense, but it makes your editing so much easier if you can control how you're writing it.
Excellent. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. We are closing out our hour, and I just want to let you guys know that the Ask Me Anything series put on by the National Court Reporters Foundation covers more topics than just practicing and certifications, what it's like to be a freelancer. Our next session we're going to have is on the last Tuesday of April, so that's April 30th. It starts again at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to talk about what it's like to attend convention, specifically what it'll be like to go to Louisville, Kentucky. Maybe you've never attended a convention before and you want to find out, what's really going on there. Is it worth the investment of my time and money? It 100% is, and we want to give you all the answers about questions for attending a convention. And then very, very excited to announce that in July, there will be for free a 4-hour training class on a Saturday. And the date is July 13. Let me get it right. It's right here in front of me. And it says, I'm going to go off the top of my head, July 13th, Saturday, 4 hours. Registration will be posted and it'll be training by Stenograph. And then on July 20th, 4 hours will be training by ProCat. So if that is one of your software vendors and you are interested in some training on how to edit better, faster, more efficiently, there's some free training that NCRF is going to offer for those as well. And we will be offering the fall lineup rather shortly for the topics that are coming up next. Feel free to reach out if you have a topic that you would like us to address. We would be happy to have the suggestions. But I really do want to thank our audience members tonight for your time and interest in this month's topic. I really hope you gained some useful tips and tricks that will empower you to practice effectively, to become better and faster steno writers, which I know are going to lead to the graduations and the certifications and the speed contests writing that you hope to do in the future. And we really appreciate you sharing this time with us this evening and asking your questions and listening to the answers we had to offer. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. Bye, everyone.